Imagine going into a theater to see a film by Yoko Ono, and you heard the rumors it's going to be pretty hard edged, and you shift uncomfortably, but with uh, gratification that you got a ticket, and you plump down in your chair. Lights go out, the curtains spread. You notice a character, person in a chair, tied to a chair. And then slowly the lights go on and you become more familiar with what you're seeing. And it's a woman in your family, tied to a chair, screaming, shaking her head, gagged. And it turns out to be a real snuff film. You clasp the chair as you see someone you love assassinated before your very eyes. Before you can catch your breath, the whole theater erupts in applause, cheering wildly. And then Yoko Ono comes over to your seat and shakes your hand. And if you're like the majority of people in Seattle, Washington, you fall to your knees in gratitude for such a breathtaking sight and beg for her autograph, which she provides as she cackles. Of course, we're told that the film Rape, which was all forgiven afterwards, was not real, or was real and was all forgiven afterwards. I'm accused, ironically, of being the salesman for their horror story. When and because I complained that they were using me as the sales boy for their horror story. I complained that I was being used as the sales boy for their horror story. And in answer, they said, no, you are the sales boy for our horror story. And supposedly there's a great deal of difference. UW dialectical can explain this difference. In the first one, I want them caught for murdering people. In the second one, Seattle has announced their preference for the murderers. See the difference? When I went to the city of Pittsburgh's University of Pittsburgh Law School on October 17th, 1993, I went to a university where my father had been senior faculty, chair of philosophy of education at the University of Pittsburgh. And I was greeted by thugs who pulled a fast one. And when I showed up, they arrested me for trespass and had me in seizures in a cell in no time at all, announcing that they didn't even have to look at the evidence to know that it wasn't true. That there was evidence, I thought at the time, of John Lennon's murder. And they were right, it wasn't true. But they were wrong that the script wasn't supposed to be read that way. Anyone can see that it was supposed to be read that way. So, what's the difference between it not being true and it not being true? It not being true means that Lennon pulled a Houdini. But to them, it not being true means that they're going to use me as the sales boy for their horror story. And what was their horror story? The circumstances surrounding the unearthing of the letters were an AIDS testing word game by men who tortured me with a neurological agent as a child and went on to justify the AIDS attack with two virgins' pussy bowl. Oh, that, they said. Well, that's not important. We don't care about those people. What's important is that nobody be allowed to admit that we're going to make money off of the script that claims that you are the sales boy for the story that doesn't exist about John Lennon's murder. And they said they're madly in love with me. Who are these people? Well, Joni Mitchell and Elton John, you call them the chocolate name drops. But why would they do this? Because it was all planned. See how it works. See them gloating. See Bernie Sanders gloating. See Noam Chomsky gloating. See Putin, Oliver Stone gloating. Because it works. It worked. That's why they did it, because it worked. So the evidence that they did it is not important. The evidence they did it should be given to people they didn't care about so they can continue to not care. They claimed that they had the right to use me as a sales boy to promote my life's work as a charitable enterprise. That's not how I see it. My life's work was an attempt to warn, and I tried very hard to warn my peers in order to save their lives. That work is done. I didn't appoint myself a charitable contribution to the criminally insane, which is all it would be. The people who led the opposition to my attempts to warn were people who wanted to see it spread. They had slogans like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The ends justifies the means, and one size fits all. What one size fits all of them? They blew it. They blew a chance to warn people and save lives because they didn't care. Why would I contribute to mania of people who would do something like that? It's criminally insane. I wouldn't want to be identified with somebody who funded people who are criminally insane. I just wouldn't want to do it. To me, it seems like it's unethical. It should be against the law. There are government processes, hospitals, and legitimate charities that people contribute to privately that I'm aware of that I won't promise anything. I don't have any money, but there's a rumor that there's a lot at stake. And of course, there would be, since the story is or isn't whether the criminally insane pulled a fast one in a heist and whether one of their victims, myself, should be compensated for the horrible violence, brutality, and criminal insanity that they visited upon me. They did it from a gang that promoted an album called Flame Over Africa while doing covers for Yoko Ono back in the 70s. So why should their inheritors complain to me, who was tortured by these people and did everything imaginable in the early 80s to try to stop them and change the course, that they want to inherit the criminal insanity of their preposterous fraud? I don't see it. I don't see why anybody would promote such an idea, but of course I know they do. I know that I've been threatened with murder over a penny because I'm innocent in the matter. Because they said that I should be the sales boy for their story. When I said what? That I was being the sales boy for their story. I was being used as the sales boy for their story. What is their story? The story is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. One size fits all, and the ends justifies the means. And they say I was an effective storyteller, effective at giving the Axis domination. Who is the theater going audience that went into this story, into this film theater, and saw their own people assassinated in a cold blooded snuff film? The Kennedys. Why would they do it? Why would they sit there while Penis Gabriel and his operations around Yoko Ono in New York murder Searcy, John Kennedy Jr., and others? Why would they just sit there cheering and applauding and asking for these preposterous celebrities' autograph? Why would they want the forgiveness known? It seems like a preposterous thing to forgive. And they want to forgive all of it. And they say, we're madly in love with you because you forgive us. Well, what does that mean, Bernie? Are you threatening your own people with a nuclear bomb if we don't go along with it? Is that what the name Trump means? Sure sounds like it to me. I don't understand what the stupids in Seattle think they're pulling by going along with something like this. By ripper-murdering a woman over a penny and licking the blade and saying, you owe me because I'm the black man outside the supermarket. What does that have to do with me? It has nothing to do with me. I'm in the same sort of situation that anybody is. I have Parkinson's. I live in Section 8. I've been poisoned in the mouth. I live off Social Security. And you say all of this has something to do with me? These people gave me my Social Security number of 1984 as a child in very suspicious circumstances. And you don't want anything to do with analyzing it. You act like the man from Mars, Elon Musk, is some sort of holy warrior who should be worshipped and laughed about because he claims he's the Illuminati. Meanwhile, this goes on in broad daylight for decades, right under their noses, in plain view for everybody to see. You say, you're madly in love with me? Because what? I was a salesboy who pulled it off. How did I do that? By giving you a chance to lie and mistranslate what you implanted when I was hostage and tortured as a child, so Michael Reagan can get off doing one of these over and over again on a 9-year-old little Jimmy Curry's head, because Leslie Katz was still a virgin and not offended King Crimson. There's something wrong with Penis J. Sinfield and Roger Waters. There's something truly disturbing going on in Great Britain.